Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good morning. I am David Lutter, attorney for the Environmental Defense Alliance. I sent you a rather long letter, I guess, on January 26th, describing this presentation. The basic point of the presentation was to establish that, in my opinion, the department has sufficient statutory authority today to have regulated the environmental landfill site as well as other green waste disposal sites. And what I'd like to do is just very briefly summarize how I get to that conclusion. There you go.
Okay.
First off, this provision in the Code of Alabama says that solid waste shall be disposed according to requirements of this article and the rules of the department, and shall be disposed of in a permitted landfill. Of course, the environmental landfill Inc. site was not a permanent landfill. So the question is, what is solid waste? Does it include green waste? The statute defines solid waste as including any other discarded materials. The statute does not define what discarded materials are. And when a statute is silent like that, the courts look to dictionary definitions of terms to find out what the ordinary usage of the term is. So the dictionary definition of material and discarded are reflected here. Material is basically any matter, and discarded is any material that has been rejected, cast aside, or abandoned as no longer needed or wanted. So that's probably what the courts would look to, at least in the absence of a statutory definition. Now, in 1 ADEM rule on the solid waste program, there is a definition of discarded material. It's very much like the dictionary definitions. It's material that is thrown away, abandoned, disposed of, or otherwise given up without the intent to reuse, recycle, or reclaim. Green waste that is put in a landfill is a discarded material. It's not going to be reused or recycled or reclaimed. It's abandoned or disposed of in the landfill. So, stumps, logs, tree limbs, brush, yard trimmings, leaves, and other vegetative debris that is disposed of is a discarded material as defined both in the ADEM rule and in dictionary definitions. Going further, stumps, logs, tree limbs, brush, yard trimmings, leaves, and other vegetative debris, which are, as I said, discarded material and solid waste that is disposed of on land, according to the statute, shall be disposed of in a permitted landfill. So my concern, or the concern of the Environmental Defense Alliance, is probably has less to do with the environmental landfill Inc. Landfill, because that's in the process of being mitigated. Our concern is really, what about all the other green waste landfills in this state that do not have any protection against fires like occurred at the one in St. Clair County? If you know anything about landfills, municipal solid waste landfills have to be covered daily with some kind of cover. And that cover is intended in part to prevent fires. not only fires from occurring at the surface, but if the surface catches fire, the layers of cover below that are supposed to prevent fires from progressing downward. Construction and demolition debris landfills also have to be covered periodically. And again, one of its purposes is to prevent fires. So we have an issue with how many landfills are there, green waste landfills are there out there that have no protection against fire. And we think that the department has ample authority to regulate, and you, the commission, has ample authority to adopt rules governing the regulation of these type landfills. Now, on January 19th, I submitted a public records request to the department to try to learn how many landfills like this do we know exist in Alabama. I'm still waiting on an answer, but that's obviously one of the first things that has to be determined. How many are out there? Some other things that we have suggested in our letter are that there ought to be an immediate inspection of these landfills by ADEM to determine whether or not they present any risk to the environment presently. Now, at some point, we need to determine whether any cover has been included in these landfills. And then we need to go on further and begin a regulation process to make sure that the same kind of fire that happened up in St. Clair County doesn't occur elsewhere. I mean, it's a risk. It's a risk that has been demonstrated to exist, and we ought not to ignore it.